It's a full moon. Moments ago, about 20 minutes ago actually, in Vedic Cancer and tropical Leo. Leo? My world is a both and world where many things are true simultaneously. And we look at the polarities, the dualities, the oppositions in charts and in life only to use them as reference points for understanding the larger whole, right? It's not the black side of the yin and yang symbol, and it's not the white side of the yin and yang symbol. It's the circle around the outside. It's the wholeness that we're after. And because we have this higher functioning brain, this frontal lobe that so many other animals don't have, we're meant to use that to see wholeness and not dualities and polarities. The famous chemist Ilya Prigozhin proved beyond shadow of a doubt in the whole time of that Vienna Circle and everything that spun out of it, higher order comes from chaos, mixing, mingling, both and all kinds of truth. So while we have a moon in Leo, so a moon in the sign of the sun, we have to look at these polarities, these dual-natured things that are in our world right now, these branching parts of our lives, things that are becoming divided as parts of a larger whole, right? Something else is being created. More love comes out of more others. And people who need to remain in separation, people who need to remain in a me versus them polarity in order to have an identity, that's what life is going to be for them. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with you doing you. Now, when you come over and you start to tell me how to do, that's where the problems start, right? Then it's not both and anymore. It's not live and let live. It becomes war. And what we're after is peaceful higher organization. Just in case anybody forgot that the goal is good, that we dream until the end is good. I feel like you all know it already, so I'm going to do a Moon Lodge spread for the collective, reading the energies. I just did my own I Ching reading, and it's beautiful what I'm getting right now. This whole lunar cycle until the end is all about loving peace, being in temperate equanimity, and being self-referenced. Be in your own center. You don't need to agree with anybody out there, and you don't need to be agreed with. Like, someone trying to tell someone else how to live is like a grain of sand on the beach trying to tell another grain of sand on the beach what's real. The point is not to imbibe and repeat someone else's organization, but to elaborate your own, to fully individuate. Okay, the blog post has all of that on it, and I'll make sure to drop it in the description box, so if you want more on that, there's plenty of it. This, however, is a Moon Lodge spread. We start with the Eastern card, the card of the spiritual nature of this inward centering that we're doing. This one is everywhere today. I got it in my personal drawing. I dropped it on the table before. Transformation is the basic inward spiritual nature, the talent, the ability of this particular time. The stages of the butterfly, and we got this in the last reading too, it's just beautiful continuity, is that it gorges itself until it it eats all it can take. It can't take anymore. And then it goes inward, like we did for the last 3 years, right? And it completely dissolves its caterpillar body. It grows wings. It has a completely different type of locomotion. It has a completely different set of everything, and it completely dissolves in the cocoon. Then it has to develop the strength to be the new creature. And that's what we're doing right now. I feel like everything is just a little held back, and we feel like puppies in our new body. Like we want to go, 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 but we have to beat the wings. We have to dry the wings before we can fly perfectly. And if we don't fully let those wings unfurl in the sun and they're not fully dried, they could be deformed. They could change our whole life going forward. We have to be very careful with our new wings. Make sure that you're being as self-referenced as you can. Make sure that none of the information that you will use to fly is coming from someone else's ideology, because ideology is where we're going wrong, right? That's what's creating the division. Our minds, which are beautiful tools, are becoming terrible masters. Watch your thoughts. Observe. Don't react. And learn to respond from your higher self. Sounds simple, sounds easy. It's not. This is a skill. This is a talent. You're transforming from a creature that consumes and moves slowly to a creature that drinks the nectar of life and flies. Woo! Love it. Eastern card, right? Okay, so here's the East. The Eastern field of vision, the horizon, the dawn. The second card is the growth card. So this is like the seed of the transformation. It's in the soil, the dirt. Down here in the south is the fertility. And the card is, transmutation. This is perfect for this full moon in Aslesha Nakshatra, the lunar mansion of the Naga, the snakes that rule the center of the earth in Vedic mythology. They are coiled, wrapped around the jewels of the unconscious, the sleeping tendencies, the powers within us we don't yet know we have. But there's an initiation in this. We have to transmute poison into medicine. The medicine, this is another essay I'm going to write for sure today, is movement. The DNA swarm that is biological life on Earth is not to be contained within borders, within ideologies, within war with itself, within lines of dualism, division, separation. You're supposed to rub them all together. It's all supposed to be in contact with everything else, and that's how you get the higher form of information. More contact. You don't follow a single guru, right? Not anymore. Maybe once you did, but now you take what resonates for you, and you turn that into your own mythology, your own intelligence, your own meaning of what the snake is. Not Genesis's meaning. Not even the Hindu meaning, not the Vedic meaning. What does the snake mean to you? It's a creature that sheds its skin, that becomes new all the time, that is both and, like the butterfly. I once was a caterpillar, now I fly. You do that by taking the poison that they gave you, which it's you, right? There is no them, there are no others. You take the poison and you turn it into nectar. You turn it into medicine. This idea, this beautiful Greek idea of pharmakon, where it's all in the dosage, right? It's hard to tell the poison from the cure because at some point the medicine becomes poison. I'm going to say that one more time. At some point, medicine becomes poison. And that's when you're freaking healed. And you don't need the medicine anymore. When you've shed your skin and you're no longer in that blind stage, you're into growth. And that's what this Southern card actually represents. It's the roots, it's the basis, it's the seed card. This is your true inner feeling. It's like you are full with the poison. You've had enough. You're sick of it. You're done. You're ready to turn it into power. And you're drying your wings. You're learning how to take what should have killed you and turn it into what propels you. This transmutation, this fire at the center of the earth, this snake-like movement upward. Whew, diggity. The real purpose of the cycle that we're in right now, the real purpose, the illumination of this full moon, the dream within the dream, the notion within this transformation, transmutation. Oh, Saturn. Maturity. Crow. Shadow. I know it. Everybody has been so confused, so strangely unsettled by the fact that the more we turn our focus on the true spirituality that comes from the individual, right? You can't really worship in a group if you're worshiping all day long. You have to be in communication, in contact with God. But it seems like the more we do that, the more we come in contact with the higher power, the creative, whatever you want to call it, the more darkness we're able to see. And that's true because our perception, we become a better lens, right? This body, this incarnation, this life is a lens for God to look at itself. And why would God want to look at itself? So that it could mature, so that it could evolve, like Prigozhin told us, to a higher level of organization. Out of that chaos, that caterpillar soup, out of that poison, out of the dross, comes the higher realization. And comes the separation of light and dark. But not in the sense that they're wholly other, in the sense that they provide the contrast that we need to be able to recognize the truth, the discernment. And that is Saturn. That is, in my mind, anyway, I have a very open-hearted view of what Saturn is doing as it matures us. It's a conquest of dimensionality to a certain degree. And if you were unable to see that eventually you're going to die, that there are consequences, that we live in a physical world, you would also, or similarly, be unable to conceive of the notion of the unseen, the adrishta, the prana that powers this world, and be in respectful right relation to it. This is the importance of Saturn, is to develop temperance, equanimity, and to really come to the realization, and I think this is the real purpose of not only contrast and difficulty, but of this cycle of having the sun in the moon sign, is to be able to understand and envisage the purpose of accepting everything that's here, no matter how chaotic, warlike, strange, dangerous, as contributing to our own compassion for ourselves, our compassion for our world, and our heart, the nature of who we are, to understand ourselves. And this is, of course, a yogic idea of self-realization, where we understand that the base element, the process, and everything that we see is literally a part of us. And when we can look at it properly, and that takes time, and that takes differentiation, and it takes discernment and experience, then we are mature enough to accept what's here with us. And once we are mature enough to accept it and live our lives in relation, peaceful relation to it, we get to ascend to another level, right? We get to move on from what's stuck, from what's holding us back, from the poison that we need to transmute. Gorgeous. Western card. And the spirit of the West, the purpose or the dream within. Now, the Northern card is the wisdom card. And this is resources that we have within us that we can draw on. I love the idea of the sun and the moon square to the western planet, the most western planet in the chart right now, Uranus. This is a change in the resources that we rely upon to move us forward in this project of understanding, of deepening compassion and coming to equanimity. And the Northern card is, oh my gosh, I love it. Buffalo. The sustainer, right? The bull of the plains. Like I was just talking about Taurus, Uranus and Taurus. And I'm just getting this vision of vast herds of buffalo all over the western plains, the abundance, the abundant nature that comes when we allow the unseen to be a part of our world. The acceptance of Spirit's hand in everything we are and everything that we do. There is an unseen part of us that provides. In the strict interpretation of this card from the authors that made it, this card is the symbol of prayer and abundance. And I have recently reached a place in my spiritual journey where I'm not afraid to talk to the higher power about what I'm afraid of, right? The unspoken part, the unseen part, the things that, you know, my superstitious reptilian hindbrain are always like, oh, don't talk about that. You know, and I give a lot of guff to the law of attraction people because I think they're just basically superstitious and poor magicians. who are trying to affect the abundance and the outcome of the world without going through the caterpillar soup and the transmutation of poison, right? You don't deny what's dark beneath you in the roots to get the flower of abundance. That's not how you do it. You do it by sharing your highest aspiration with the highest power you can conceive of. You do it by having the greatest caliber love for the greatest caliber beloved and making that everything. Or at least that's how I do it. That's how this grain of sand does it, right? So take it with a grain of salt. If law of attraction is right for you, then it's right for you. And there's nothing I'm going to say that would ever change the rightness of it, because that's where your abundance is coming from. But for me, my abundance is coming from adherence to the good, adherence to the true as it presents itself to me through me. And this card, this northern card, this wisdom, this inner wisdom, the wisdom within, coming from Taurus and Uranus, I'm sorry, other way around, Uranus and Taurus, the change bringer, the guy on the inside. For me, Prometheus was the one god that had ecological empathy for humans, right? This compassion that we so desperately need right now. He had it for us, and he gave us fire so that we would not die. Similarly, buffalo gave its body so that the beautiful people of the plains would not die in the winter. The long, cold winter from which we are starting to emerge right now. This very spring-like reading, this very spring-like moon lodge spread culminates in the northern sector with buffalo, prayer, and abundance. Do your rituals, people. Talk to your higher power. And then the middle card of the Moon Lodge card is the personal unconscious, but it's also the way in which all of these forces, which are all forces of the personality, right? There's no othering here. This is all in us, each one of us. And I'm talking to us like we're one person, because we freaking are. This is the integration card. This is how we bring all of this to wholeness. And this card is Dolphin. Dolphin represents mana. Mana being the connection to the divine. And the connection to the divine is the breath. Breathe. This notion is coming to me very strongly right now, because ideology and duality and polarity has brought so many divisions in our culture and in our world. The way to God, the way to purity, the way to light can be expressed in millions of different ways. But all of us, all the beings on this planet, very few microbes are anaerobic, right? We all share the breath, the inhale and the exhale. And this is that primal oscillation. This very first frequency, this very first beginning, it's the thrum of prana, the heartbeat of our planet, of our world, of everything that we know. And taking long, slow, deep, diaphragmatic breaths, before we respond to anything that happens. Those ideologies, all of that, it's hindbrain reactivity, right? We have to mature beyond the hindbrain reactivity in order to come into response. Considered, connected, negotiated response, right? I might lose a little if I don't immediately react to what you said. You might lose a little if you don't react to me. But that's what good negotiation is. That's what a good inhalation and exhalation is. It's me inhaling fully and exhaling completely. The beauty of mana, the beauty of a playful creature like the dolphin, is this equanimity that comes to us through the breath. We can survive without a great many things for a long period of time. I even read like 14 days without water or something. But without the breath, we can't last longer than, a couple of minutes. This is our connection. Movement is the medicine that will take us through this cycle. Saturn is still ruling that chart, and it's going to start to move too. By the time we get to May and April, things that have kept us in the inward meditative place are going to start to move. Now is the time that we make sure the wings are fully dry, that we make sure the poison is fully transmuted. And honestly, I can't help but think we're talking about all sorts of addiction being transmuted down in the South. Addiction to ideology, addiction to having some sort of a father looking down on us. It's both and. You are the father and you are the child. Parent yourself well. Parent yourself in communion with the unseen. And that mythology is unique to you. It's as unique as your breath. You can't get it from me. I can remind you. But we're all just here remembering. And once we remember who we are, it's a very fundamental, very simple thing. Breathe. And before you act, breathe. Bottom of the deck, very quickly. Ooh, badger. Aggression. So why all this? Why do we need to do all this? To overcome the aggressive difficulty of our shadow, right? It is really trying to stop us from advancing. That doesn't mean that we need to push harder or farther or faster or anything like that. It just means that when aggression comes up, when we see the violence, when we see the warring tendencies, and we see it all around us. It's the propaganda, right? It's what they want us to see. War is normal, peace is not. Check in with that thought. Check in with your breath. Is war more normal than peace? Do you believe the interpretation they gave us of Darwin's scientific work? Do you really think that if we leave large swaths of our population behind, and I'm talking about the disabled and those who are different from us, which we've been conditioned over the last little period to believe that it's okay, they're very much, expendable. That's not true. What we need here is everyone, every breath, functioning with its full creative capacity. And we're breaking through yet another creative block right now. And that creative block is we're peaceful people. Meant to be herbivores as far as I can tell. Our dentistry should tell us that at least. And this constant forever war is not us. It's not a good look. It's not sustainable and it's not going to work. So as we overcome this aggression, gracefully transforming with the help of the sun, the help of the plants, transmuting the poison that we've been feeding for too long. You know, in the birth process, there's that moment of toxicity where both parties could die. If the movement doesn't come to seeing a bigger picture, to understanding that the duality gives us a larger wholeness, and from the perspective, the gratitude, the prayer of the larger wholeness, move into the present moment with the sacred breath. Yeah, I think that's it. Sacralize your life. Breathe before you respond. See you at the new moon.